Hi, everybody. We welcome you in on this Friday to coronavirus inside the Arizona numbers. Fridays, we always have a lot to get to because late Thursday afternoons in Maricopa County, the maps are updated for your school districts, your zip code, your neighborhood. So we're happy to find the information for you for your neighborhood. Let us know where you're watching from or where you'd like an update from, what school district you'd like an update from. We'll pull all that information for you in this hour. We thank you for spending part of your day with us right here. Garrett, we're going to get a million requests for a million different areas.
Let's do it.
Let's dive right in. We're ready for you, folks. We're ready to help you find this information so you can make the best decisions for your family. Margaret's first. Margaret, thanks. 85029 is the zip code that she's looking for. Thanks for joining us.
Go right in. So I'm just going to share. For the zip codes, I'm going to share the Maricopa's map simply because it's easier. Oh, wow, lots came in. It's easier for me to actually find the zip code using the zip code tool.
Everybody wants to see their area, so we'll be
85029 is substantial spread with, but you can see right here, it's the percent positivity keeping it from anything else. So it's probably going to stay there for a couple weeks. So let's see, 85323. I'm very familiar with that zip code, and I can tell you that it's probably fine as soon as I type it in correctly. 5323, which one is it? There it is, and it's Avondale. Nope, I was thinking of another one. My apologies. I was thinking of an 852 zip code, and this one does, it's over 100K per population and also a high 12% positivity rate right now. I only have Maricopa County, folks, so sorry if you don't live there.
You're getting requests globally right now, all across the U.S.
85225, here we go. Ooh, it's sort of a red in a sea of yellow here.
Oh, interesting.
It looks like it should flip to yellow by next week. It's being held up by a percent positive from last week. So, and you can see it's probably not going to make the hybrid benchmarks for a little bit, but at least 2 weeks. So let's see another one, 85387. That one is right here, and that is a surprise. This one has achieved moderate status with hybrid learning at this point. This area, you can see at a very low percent positivity and a fairly low percent per capita numbers. 85035 is not coming up. Let's try 85043. 85043 is right here. Wow, this one has very high per capita rates as well as a fairly high percent positivity. So it's going to be a while for that one as well. 85383. There we go. Jumping up to north of the valley. Here we go. And that one is well in the hybrid status. Very low numbers there. 5258. This is right here in Gainey Ranch. You can see has already achieved hybrid status, so under 7%.
And Garrett, we should mention there are sort of two things to look at here. We're kind of focusing on the zip codes right now, and we can dive right into the school districts in a little bit. So there may be cases where your particular school district in your neighborhood overlaps into another zip code. So the numbers might be different based on the school district in your neighborhood versus the zip code in your neighborhood, just based on how they're sketched.
Yes, absolutely. This is using the school's criteria. But as you said, this is zip codes. The schools actually have different criteria. Here you go. This 85204 in Mesa has a slightly too high percent positivity. It's at 11%. So it's not moderate yet. 85. I think an 857 I won't have. 85205 if I haven't gotten that one. There you go. There's a yellow right there.
So if we're not, Darcy's saying nice of you to do this for everyone. You're welcome, Darcy. That's why we hop on here and try to help everybody move through the numbers. But as Garrett's rattling some of these off and helping you find the information, we want to let you know if we don't get to your zip code, because we know we just cannot get to everybody, this address is on the bottom of your screen right there, and you'll be able to pull that up and look at the school dashboard information that just came out yesterday. And producer Josh is adding that as well so that you can pull up that link just as easily at home as we walk you through some of this. What zip code are you on now, Garrett?
I'm in Buckeye. You can see they will flip to yellow next week. They already have made it for this week. So unless something changes, they'll flip to yellow. But they won't be at hybrid, this zip code. But again, the hybrid model is for the school districts anyway.
Yeah, so Kristen, hang on one more week there.
85205 is already yellow.
Darcy writes, private schools might be different. Actually, any school can open up. This is the framework and the benchmarks that they've given out to the school districts. Obviously, the school districts can make their own decisions, and some have, but these are the guidelines the state has given out.
85388, there's a yellow one. 219, please. Anybody, I don't have any 856s or anything outside of Maricopa County. So just, I apologize, but this is a Maricopa County site. So it's all we can do. 5308. I think I already did 85308. I'm starting to get some redundancy here. 85202. This one is low. Yep, right there. Okay. So 852. I'll do this for like a couple more, and then we have to move on. here's another yellow right here. That's 85286. 85251. As soon as I can learn how to type. That one is that's South Scottsdale. That one is yellow. I think I've done 85339. This is Levine. It is in the red. This is Buckeye. It's in the red. Yeah, I'm starting to get redundancies, so I'm going to stop going through zip codes. I apologize.
That's okay. Hey,
so
a broad, yeah,
so
I was just going to say a broad overview helps us see how this looks overall.
Yeah, everyone kind of knows where they live, so they can kind of look at this whole line here and see sort of where it is. You can see the majority of the East Valley districts, with the exception of these districts in Mesa and a little bit in North Chandler, over in the Dobson area, it appears. Everything else in the East Valley is yellow. Scottsdale, pretty much all yellow. Paradise Valley still has its green zip code right there. And then we have also, and you can see the southwest of Phoenix is pretty red. So that's sort of what you're looking at. Goodyear, we'll go to cities really quick since people are asking about cities. So here's the actual cities. Interestingly enough, I'm going to try something really quick just in case. All right, because Paradise Valley was actually yellow yesterday, so they must have made an update because now Paradise Valley is back to green. It was certainly yellow yesterday.
Interesting.
When I checked this, so something must have changed in their data. Goodyear is right there. It is substantial, but you can see it's from last week's data that's making it substantial. So Goodyear will flip to yellow next week. Anthem is unincorporated, so I do not have anything for Anthem. Let's see what else. All of the East Valley cities are all green, are moderate at this point. Although Mesa is, and this is why I have a separate map for this. Mesa is moderate, but does not meet the school criteria for hybrid quite yet. And then you can see the southeastern cities, the southwestern cities: Goodyear, Buckeye, Glendale. And then some of these small, Avondale, some of these smaller ones in here that are hard to see because you can see that the city lines are a mess here. El Mirage, they're all pretty much red at this point. But some of them, as you can see, like, for example, Glendale, it looks like Glendale's going to change tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, Thursday. My apologies.
Yeah, the next time they calculate this. Okay, so people are asking why they're seeing differences from city to zip code to school district. Please remember that those boundaries, again, are going to be different. So when a school district or your child's school district or your grandchild's school district is reaching out and saying that they are cleared to reopen, remember there's 3 numbers to sort of consider here. So you should look, actually 4 if you really want to get technical. Maricopa County as a county has not made it there yet. You can look by your city numbers. You could look by your zip code numbers, and then you can also look by your particular school district. So like in my case, our school district kind of goes one direction and our zip code goes another direction. And between those two areas, we're getting different numbers at this point. So important to check all of those things and really understand what number your school district is communicating with you, where they're getting that particular number, if they're getting it straight from their school district boundaries or their zip code boundaries, or something even greater like a city boundary. So Garrett, it's worth checking these maps 3 different ways.
Absolutely. And I actually have a different map for the school districts that I put together myself that does actually give a little bit more detail in the visual rather than what because, you know, as you just said, in the school districts especially, there's a specific cutoff in the yellow. You could still be in the yellow technically in a school district, but still not make hybrid support. So I created this orange color. I'm looking right here. What you're looking at is the unified school districts as well as the elementary school districts. The only one on here, not on here, is the high school districts because they are the same as the elementary. So you can see Mesa, for example, is a good example. We just talked about the city of Mesa. Well, the school district, obviously, the lines are very close. So you can see right here, although on the Maricopa map, Mesa shows a yellow, it's actually kind of an orange because while it is technically has a lower than 10% positivity, its positivity is not under 7%. So it's still under the virtual learning recommendations by the Department of Health and Education. Same thing with Paradise Valley. You can see Paradise Valley is it's yellow on this map. Excuse me, orange on this map. And then Litchfield, orange. Dysart is orange. Peoria is orange. So these are all school districts in Maricopa County that would show up on their map as yellow, but actually haven't met the full criteria quite yet. Although the yellows all have made the hybrid with on-site support.
So these orange categories, we'll watch them especially close because they're ones that might be able to change maybe next week.
Yes, these are some that could change next week. Absolutely. It's definitely, you can see a lot of them are on the cusp. Here we're looking at Dysart. Its percent positivity is at 7.5%. You know, it's very close. It should take about 2 weeks for it to calculate in, but it seems to be on the cusp. You know, it's going to be 6.8, 6.9, 5 something, but it's already on the cusp as it is.
Okay, so this map, Garrett, is one that you put together, you created. Is there any place where people can access this, or should we stay with this a bit longer so they can?
Yeah, this does not have a home quite yet. I'm trying to get a home for this, but not quite yet. So I've got this one, and but this is the most important one that has these oranges because of the school districts themselves. So I'm trying to get a home for the others, but specifically this one. So yeah, I'll stay on it a little bit more. You can see these are all the elementary school districts. Almost all of them are still in the red zone. Anything in basically Central Phoenix, going all the way out to Buckeye is still red. Here's a red one up here. Nottaburg is still in the red, but though barely in the red. It'll flip to yellow shortly, or at least orange. It'll transition to orange first probably. And then here is the oranges: Litchfield, Dysart, Peoria, Paradise Valley, Mesa, and then the rest of the East Valley districts are in the yellow. There are some green ones, but these are either tribal or quite literally nobody lives there. Pretty much, you know, these are school districts that maybe have one school in them. So you know, these are obviously, even though they're green, it's more because there's just nobody there.
So if they have one school or one school district in them, if they have one situation where they have a case of you know, a couple cases of COVID pop up, they could turn pretty quick, couldn't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. These are areas that if they started to have at least even the smallest outbreak, their percent positives would turn into the high double digits just because of the size of the community.
Yeah. Susie's asking for Fountain Hills, but I'm assuming, is that outside of this?
No, Fountain Hills is fine. It's right here. It's a little hard to see, but it is in the yellow because of its percent positive is only 2.3%.
Right. Okay. This map is helpful. I know somebody said great job, Garrett, just a minute ago.
Yes.
And I can't agree more. This is so helpful. Debbie had said that. Thank you, Debbie. Very
sweet. You, Debbie. I have an answer for that question we had yesterday on Cochise County.
Okay, so we'll recap that really quick.
Okay, yeah, because she asked about that, so I'll just remind me when we get there.
So, okay, we can save that part for just a minute. But we had some concerns about the business category and certain counties that had made it into the moderate category. So we'll get to that. Just to also recap from yesterday, when you're looking at the counties themselves, schools in Maricopa County have not made it to that threshold yet. Yavapai and Apache made it there 2 weeks ago. Greenlee and La Paz were the counties that joined them there yesterday. So 4 of 15 counties in Arizona officially cleared, if you will, to go to that hybrid learning model for schools. All right. I think we can move on to the next thing, Garrett. How do you feel? Are we getting so many questions? But I want to make sure that
I think we're good right now. We have the link of the school districts and zip codes, and people can go there if they have to.
Yeah, so be sure to check that out. And as we mentioned, that is updated a little later on Thursdays. That's why we couldn't get to it yesterday. It comes out at about 4 or 5 o'clock. So it's important to check that with us here on Friday or late on Thursday evening. Let's go to the summary page. And then I know some of you are asking about some of the businesses, and we'll get to that too. We spent a lot of time on that yesterday. But on that, on the summary page that came out today, and the big highlight that we talked about yesterday, the big number that we passed, 200,000 let me start again, 200,000 cases here in Arizona. And sadly, we are approaching a milestone number for deaths as well. We're getting closer to that 5,000 number, whether we pass that this weekend or we'll walk you through that next week as we get there. But unfortunately, we added 49 deaths to that count today.
Yes, we are. So we are 15 days from having a daily report from the Department of Health of over 1,000 cases. It's been that long since we had a report. We're down about every single day. We're down about 35% from where we were the week before, which is great. These are all great metrics. Even that death number, as sad as that death number is, of course, it's always sad when people lose their lives. This number is not, as is sort of customary now, or at least routine. It's now being provided. It's being added to. I mean, there are deaths that are added today that come from July, June. So it's no longer what it used to be. When we were first doing this presentation, when we were first doing this Facebook Live, these deaths were coming within in the most recent 2 weeks, and now that's just not the case. The majority of the deaths are now coming from across the curve at this point. So when you see a higher death number now, you have to make sure you think about it not as front loaded. Say, wow, 150 people died in the last couple of days. That's just not the case anymore. It could be 150 that were certificate surveillance over the course of the entire pandemic.
So that those dates would then be plugged into that date chart where you see, I believe it was July 17th or something, that we saw the highest overall count in those cases.
And it still is the case. July 17th still, and you see, if you remember seeing that, I brought this curve up yesterday. We added 60 deaths, and it hasn't changed the makeup of this curve very much. This used to be fairly front loaded, and it's just not anymore. It's this July 17th is still the peak death day at this point.
Yeah, and when we're not adding as many days, then you're not going to see that curve move as we were watching it. I remember, it was for a while, it was at early June, and then quickly moving through that chart later into the year, into the July category where it now rests. How does Maricopa County compare to the rest of the state? I know of those 49 deaths, 28 were in Maricopa County. We're also about to sadly pass a milestone number there, likely in the next week or two of 3,000.
Yes.
But overall, it makes up a huge chunk of the cases, being one of the most populous counties. Not only the most populous county in Arizona, but in the country as well. We were like in the fourth category, fourth place.
Yeah, absolutely. It is usually typically takes up about 60% of the cases and deaths that we see every day. It's just simply an extremely populous county. It does have a fairly low per capita compared to its population size, which is great. It does have a higher cumulative percent positive. But it has in the most recent. I think let me see if I can find it. But so far, it's showing up a little high. Its percent positive for Maricopa is a little higher than the rest of the state every single day. I think the state was just under 5%. It was under 4% actually today, because we had a whole bunch of tests come in from Pinal County that was very likely from the Department of Corrections. And so we were under 4% in total for the last 7 days. But Maricopa was at 5.3%. Not the highest county, but definitely it's still over 5%, where we're starting to have some counties like in the Navajo Nation that are showing like a 2%. Pinal County today, because it was part of the test dump, only had a 1% positivity rate. But again, I think that's because the Department of Corrections dropped about 5,000 tests.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about some of the businesses, and we were getting some questions about that earlier. We talked about the businesses being allowed to reopen at reduced capacity, of course, with social distancing guidelines in place, with masks still being worn, and lots of stuff going on to try to protect not only the staff, but the clientele as well. And Sandra's asking, do you know, I just missed your comment. Do you know when the gyms, sorry, let me scroll back and see it. I think she was asking, do you know when the gyms will be open? You should check with your particular gym, because a lot of the gyms here have opened back up or are opening back up this week. Now, with all that said, as these businesses reopen and invite clients and guests back in, there's a compliance issue here in making sure that these businesses are following the guidelines that they have agreed to follow as they reopen. And if you are out and about, or you are at a business and you see something that's just not right, the state would like to hear from you. They've set up a website where you can fill out a form and let them know what you're seeing at that particular business. And this is not about, I saw some comments yesterday about telling on people. This is not about telling on people. This is about keeping everybody safe so that these businesses can then stay open. If somebody's making a bad choice and this starts to spread like crazy again, no business is going to be able to stay open. So they want to address compliance and address education right away. And the site to do that is right there on your screen. It's azhealth.gov/compliance COVID-19. That's where you can go and fill out that form. If a website doesn't work for you, there's a phone number that they've also set up. That number is 1-844-410-2157. The number added right there on your screen. And they want to hear from you. Now, they already have, in fact, in Maricopa County, we understand that more than 360 compliance issues were dialed in or emailed in so that they can go out and check on those. There were some in other counties, but not a high number of note. But more than 360 coming in Maricopa County. So they want to hear from you if you see something that's just not right. They want to make sure that everybody's safe in this process. And Garrett, we also just learned that everybody was talking football, and the Cardinals games are going to have no fans for at least the first 2 games. The first 2 home games will be without fans, and then the first away game, which happens to be in San Francisco, will be without fans as well. So they weren't able to figure something out to keep people safe at this particular juncture. So those first 2 games are going to be without fans. You'll have to watch from home. Garrett, when you're seeing these numbers and you're seeing these businesses reopen, we were telling folks yesterday that Greenlee County, they're already in that minimum category. We had a couple of counties, and this is where the question came in a little bit earlier about the moderate categories. So moderate category counties were Apache, Coconino, La Paz, Maricopa, Navajo, Pima, Yavapai, and I purposefully skipped over one in alphabetical order because that is Cochise. We had a lot of questions about Cochise County yesterday. So show us the graph for Cochise County, and then help us better understand where this didn't sort of all seem on the up and up,
Sure.
and what we learned a little bit more after hours about.
So this is what I was told by the AZDHS. I was told that because Cochise County had been in the moderate status prior to recalculation, apparently this August 2nd week did calculate up into substantial, but because it was already moderate, it takes 2 weeks to go back to substantial, is what I'm told. So basically what that means is that if this next week, so what is that, August 9th, it is August 16th, if the week starting August 16th, there was some sort of massive case dump in Cochise County that would push it back up above 100, or what would be more likely is the percent positive going up above 10%, because that would be huge right there. That it would take 2 weeks of that to put the county back into substantial. So because Cochise already had achieved moderate status, it was not put back into substantial because of that adjustment on August 2nd. And Pinal, because Pinal was moving from substantial to moderate and it didn't achieve it yet, that's why that's the difference in the discrepancy between Pinal and Cochise.
So it sort of is like, if there's an anomaly in there in some fashion, there's a big dump, there's something else that shows up in the graph, it's not going to trigger everything to shut down again.
Yes, which of course you can make your arguments both ways as to if that's
a good idea or a bad idea.
Yeah, because I mean, now you're saying that for some, for like a smaller county, we'll start with a smaller county because numbers are easier to move in smaller counties than Maricopa. So let's just hypothetically take Yuma for now. And if, say, for example, you see Yuma had this very large swing, 0.5% positive difference from 14 to 7 in 1 week period. So it's still insubstantial, but let's just pretend for the sake of argument that this was in the moderate category at this point. And it was to have another swing on August 16th back up to 14%. If it goes back up to 14% and it was in moderate, it would still be considered moderate category for another week. That's 2 weeks in a row of over 14% positives, and also possibly an increasing both CLI and a per capita number that technically it would still be considered moderate without further action. So, I mean, that's just something to consider, something to be aware of, that appears, you can make your arguments if that's a good or a bad thing, but that's just something that we've sort of figured out. Yeah.
And that's why it's worth checking back on these particular sites for your specific county, even when that one sheet comes out and says it might be okay. For somebody who's at a higher risk group, they may want to change their plans or do something differently. So with that substantial range, we still had some counties hanging out in the substantial area, that being Gila, Graham, Mojave, Pinal, Santa Cruz, and Yuma. And some of those have a ways to go before they can. It's not like it's going to be necessarily next Thursday for them.
Yeah, like for example, Pinal County will be calculated back to moderate next Thursday, as of this point. Especially since we've already seen the Florence what is likely the Florence correctional dump of tests and positives. So because of that, and it didn't move the needle that much, it's going to move into moderate next week. But we do look at some of these others. We look at Gila. Gila still has, in fact, it has an increasing percent positive, but it's still under 10, so it still qualifies. But it does appear that it's going to take at least 2 weeks for Gila to make it because they're not making the per capita number right now. Graham is in a similar boat. In fact, Graham right now is sort of going through it. It doesn't have a lot of cases, but it's sort of going through its own little hotspot right now. It's a very minor hotspot. Don't get me wrong. It's nowhere near what Yuma, Santa Cruz, and the Navajo Nation was. But as you can see with their numbers fluctuating, Graham County is kind of, Safford is on the watch list. We saw it on the White House report that Safford was on the watch list. So it could be several weeks before Graham County goes into the moderate status. Yuma County, we just looked at. You can see Yuma's in good shape it's probably going to take 2 weeks, but they're in good shape. Mojave County is similar, very good shape. Most likely next Thursday will be calculated back down into moderate, pending some different, something that could happen. And I think, is that it? And then Santa Cruz, same situation with Santa Cruz. It should be moderate next week.
Yeah, so those 6 counties that were still left out there: Gila, Graham, Mojave, Pinal, Santa Cruz, and Yuma. So we'll continue to keep you all updated on those. Again, this is the business metrics for this particular section. We had talked about the schools a little bit earlier. And when we're talking about these businesses, they are required to sign the attestation form that says that they will follow the guidelines set forth. So a lot of businesses that were trying to open before this were filling out an application, some hundreds of pages long, saying what they were going to do to keep their clientele and their staff safe. Now, the application's not needed anymore, but they do need to sign this form. And so if you are headed out to a business, you should look for this form to be posted in plain view there. And you can also go and search if the business you would like to head to has gone ahead and signed that form. And you can do that on, I don't know, Garrett, are you even able to pull that up?
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now. I can pull it up. I'll have it up in just a moment.
It's not the easiest thing to search, we'll tell you that, but you are able to search through and see if the place that you plan to head to for dinner or for a workout has signed this form and has also posted that there within their business, just in case you don't see it, so you know that they've already taken the steps to be sure to open safely. But this is all, again, about keeping their staff safe and keeping their clients safe as well. Oh, Neil's asking about what about schools? So Neil, we just talked about that at the beginning of this. If there's one you want us to look up, we can definitely peek at that for you. We talked about some of the schools a little bit earlier and showed folks how to find that information. Oh, Angie's asking for a school too. Maybe we can, we'll have a little bit of time here to dive back into schools. We could probably do that for you guys.
For just a moment, we can go back into schools. I do have the official attestation site pulled up. I'm going to give the URL's a little kind of crazy, so I'll just send it over to producer Josh if he wants to put it in the comments. But this is where you can go to sort of check. So we'll start with bars with a food permit, and it takes you to this site where you can just. I'm just going to. So I've done a lot of these before, being worked with a lot of these, being that I've worked in as a bureaucrat. Don't try to search for a for a particular establishment. Just click on the county and just go through it. As you can see, there's different spellings. There's different and it's got to be cased perfectly. So just pull it up and move. So here you can see everything that they have. Anybody who's already signed an attestation form in Maricopa County. Obviously, that list is going to be massive, but this is where you can find it.
So at this point, for those counties that are in the moderate category, remember it's gyms that are open to 25%, and then some of the other businesses that are up to 50. So like the theaters can be up to 50%, places like that. But the gyms are still limited to 25%. Masks everywhere, and some places are going to be taking temperatures of the staff before they arrive, things like that. So you'll see some big changes, and please be patient with the folks who are working there as they try to implement those. Remember, it's all new for training their staff as well. It takes a lot of time to get everybody up to speed to be doing this safely.
Here's everybody's favorite Varsity Tavern. They've signed an attestation.
That is a place that got into a bit of trouble throughout this year. So as it relates to COVID, so we'll see. If they're able to make some changes to keep both their staff and the clients safe as they come in. So you can search through those forms. We just want to make sure you all knew where to find that. It is important to make sure that they're taking the safest steps. We also talked about the 2 ways to get updates and provide updates to the state on the compliance and any compliance issues that you see out there. And Garrett, we've had a few requests to go back to schools in some of the specific school districts. So I think we have a little bit of time left. We can do that for people who are hanging with us here to ask those questions. Let's see. Angie had asked about Alhambra High, and that is
yeah. Let me go to. I'm going to go to the Maricopa County map just so that I can get sort of the high schools and everything else out as well. So I'll go to the high school districts. We didn't really share those before. You can see the Tempe Union is the only high school district right now that is in the hybrid category. Everyone else is in the substantial. Phoenix, although Phoenix Union looks like by next week, it should be back in the yellow by next week. Looks like Glendale's going to be a couple weeks. Tolleson will be a couple weeks. Agua Fria will likely be recalculated into yellow, although not quite. You can see this is one of those frustrations. 7.12 is a percent positivity, so they're going to be in the orange next week, essentially. Yeah. And then Buckeye looks like it's also going to be in the orange next week because it's at 7.99, but that's just under the 7% threshold.
Garrett, I'm going to pause you for 1 second as you're pulling up the next graph right there. Deborah's asking a really good question. Deborah, always appreciate you joining us on here. You always ask great questions. This is another good one. Does the compliance website share which businesses have had complaints filed against them? So I don't know if complaints would necessarily be the right word. I know what you're saying. So you want to search that, and I don't blame you. That's a really good question. So what I can tell you is in Maricopa County, they already have 360. And I'm wondering if we know that as a news organization, if we have access to that specific list. And producer Josh doesn't know either, but I know that the county gave us those numbers. So we'll push to see. I'll hang on to that question for you, Deborah, because I'm curious too. I'd want to know if somewhere I'm going to head to has had maybe more than a couple of people complain, then that might be a red flag for me personally. So really, really good question. I'll try to get some more information on that, but I can tell you, we do know of about 360. We know of a couple dozen total in all the other counties combined. So not that many in other places, but I'm going to hang on to that. Really good question. Also, Debbie, we have Deborah and Debbie. Debbie asks, does Maricopa County do a weekly press conference or is it more random? It had been kind of every Wednesday before we would come on with all of you, but this week they didn't show up for us. I had questions for them too, so I was hoping to hear from them, but we did not see them yet this week. We do our best to pass it along as soon as we hear that they're going to be chatting with us, and we do provide the live coverage right here on Facebook, but I just haven't heard a regular schedule. Yeah, Deborah and Debbie. Deborah says, thanks, it might be good motivation for the businesses. For sure. Yeah, you don't want anything like worries of retaliation or anything like that. If they get bad service, then they're just going to be, you know what, fill in the blank and submit something like that. So somebody's running out there to look into them. But if you're seeing like a whole handful of them, that would be cause for concern. So we'll stay on that. We'll try to get an answer on that for you. Let's see, Garrett, we were getting questions about the school district. So yeah, we'll pull that up again. Stephanie writes, how can we pull up the school map? We'll get that website up there once again so that you guys can look at this too. Remember, it's updated just each week, and this is just Maricopa County. We wish the other counties gave us the detailed information like this, but we only get it from Maricopa.
Yes, I'm going to, let's see, I think I actually might go to mine for this just because it's easier to read. Yeah. So let me just go to mine really quick. It's easier for me to click through. So here we go. But that website will take you to a map. It's not going to be this one. So remember, I have the extra color added where the orange, where they don't quite make the hybrid status yet. So this is the unified school districts with the elementary school districts. The only elementary school district that is in the orange is this Balls Elementary. Other than that, all the elementary school districts, and with the small exception of these tiny ones that have nobody in them, are in the red because they all exist right here where we know there was a pretty significant hotspot over here. So let's just go through them. We'll do it really quick. Queen Creek, I know that's been in the news a lot. You can see they're well under 7% in their hybrid right now. Higley also under 7%. Chandler, it's under 4% right now, so that's pretty incredible. Mesa, 8%. Kyrene Elementary at under 4%. Tempe under 5%. Scottsdale under 4%. We've got Fountain Hills is under 3%. And then let's see, Cave Creek under 5%. Deer Valley under 4%. Peoria under 8%, over 8%. That's one of the orange ones. Dysart over 7%. And then Litchfield over 6%. So this one looks like by next week, Litchfield will move into the yellow category. And then here we go, Nottaburg 9%, Morristown, there's nobody there. Although I don't know why it's on hybrid because like literally nobody's there. And then Wickenburg is under 7%. So that's hybrid. Aguila. Ooh, look at that percent positivity, 50%. That's because nobody lives out there. So this is what I was talking about, how one area can be thrown into chaos when it's a very low area. Paradise Valley, 5%. So they're in the orange because they still have a 7.1 from last week. And then again, all of these are still red, huh?
Gina was asking about Paradise Valley. Gina, does that make sense then? So they'll likely get there in the next week, but this map in particular is one that Garrett put together. So they're kind of in that middle zone right now, not quite there yet. It's one of those orange categories that we'll all watch for you real close. So if you want to join us back next Thursday as well, we'll take a peek at that. I should say next Friday.
Friday, yeah, Friday.
After we're on. Yeah, that's interesting though, those orange districts. That is.
Yeah, I mean, they're technically, for businesses, the region is above is in the moderate category, but as far as the AZ Department of Education's further threshold of less than 7% positivity for 2 weeks, that's what's causing those districts to turn orange.
Yeah. Cindy's asking, is this the same site for businesses opening or long-term care facilities? So this particular one that we're on right now, Cindy, is the one for schools. Businesses in Maricopa County can reopen partially, so 50% for most of those businesses, 25% for gyms. The long-term care facilities, that is a separate issue, one that the information is coming out rapidly on it. I know that we have a reporter on it for this evening. It's changing so fast because the specific guidelines are coming out. They were deciding whether you should get a COVID test and then you would have a certain number of hours to come visit your loved one, or how those guidelines would look specifically for here. So I know we have a reporter working on that. You'll want to stay with us tonight for our coverage on that too, coming up at 4, 5, 6, and 10, because we'll have a little more information on what those plans look like as they work on those guidelines. So good question, Cindy. All right,
someone's asking what you need to be green. Megan's asking what you need to be green. To be green, you have to be under 10 per 100K population. You need to be under a 5% positivity rate, and you need to have a COVID-like illness syndromic rate of under 5%. Nearly everybody makes that last one, so it's the first two that are the problems for most places.
Yeah. Okay. We only have a matter of minutes left, and I want to get to a couple quick things, down and dirty, real quick. The R0 number or RT Live. We didn't touch on that. I know it's at 0.8787 rather. Garrett, is there any reason for our air bar to be so high? It's up above 1.02.
Oh yes.
Is there any cause for concern or anything we should think about when we're watching that?
No, I mean, it's, again, this is just that, it's an 80% confidence estimate. I mean, it does perceive that because of a lot of the numbers that we've had reported, that they're saying, well, now we're sort of confident. There's a very little chance, but we say that there's a presumption that you could technically still have an increasing number of cases. But again, we had a really wild week in case reports this week. Even with the fact that we had less than 1,000 cases, our testing numbers were really wild this week. So, I don't know how long that's going to last. So we'll just sort of watch. You notice last week we were always at the bottom, and we had a pretty consistent week last week, and now our weeks are much less consistent. At least our days are much more or less consistent. So that's sort of what I'm thinking is just causing the noise.
Yeah. So we have a few things to watch over these next few days and weeks also, as we open up some more of these businesses, that some of these places are going to be opening up a little bit faster. And some, we have a holiday coming up, we have Labor Day coming up, and then we also have the concern of some schools opening back up as well. So we'll be watching these numbers very closely and looking at some leading indicators of concern or things that are going to make us feel a little bit more comfortable. What things are you watching as we head into this weekend, Garrett?
Same stuff we always watch for weekends. I'm watching the COVID-like illness rate on the CDC, as well as the emergency department visits to see what happens if there's any sort of strange movements there. Those are the most important sort of on weekends, because weekend reporting itself becomes such a problem that we just have to focus on the metrics that we know are about 24 hours old, which are the hospital, the COVID patients' hospital numbers.
Yeah. Okay. I want to remind folks we're not with you on the weekends, but Garrett still compiles these numbers for you, which is so awesome. You can find his Twitter account at Garrett_Archer. You can find my Twitter account at Katie Raml. His has the best information. I sort of retweet a couple of his highlights and other news that is happening around the country. One thing of note, over this weekend, we will likely pass that 6 million mark for cases in the United States. We'll be tracking that. And as always, we'll bring you the very latest Arizona-based information when we join back with you here on Monday. You can also find me on Facebook, since many of you are watching right now on Facebook. My address over there is facebook.com/news from Katie. Always good to see a lot of the names who we've chatted with over here show up over there. And that's about it. Garrett, have a very safe weekend. Thanks for those awesome new maps. Those are very helpful, and I know they probably took a lot of work behind the scenes, but they really help us to better understand what's happening as we track COVID all throughout Arizona. We hope all of you have a safe weekend. Thank you, Kimberly. You have a good weekend with your family as well. We will. And we'll see you back here next week.